Hello Angela, my name is Claire Warner. I'm one of the deputy heads at SEATS. I understand while I was on leave that Sue met with you and shared some of the exciting things we've been doing in terms of our training team. She asked me to pull together a couple of examples of what we've been trialling and experimenting with before we meet on Thursday. Um, I really do have a wealth of spreadsheets and information and sort of performers and things like that saved. So when we meet on Thursday, or if before you want any additional information, just drop me a line and I can send it through. But I really didn't want to bombard your email with endless spreadsheets and information. So I thought I would just quickly record an overview for you. So when we form SEATS, all the other services that join together to make SEATS work to really sort of traditional, statutory, predominantly model. As a PD practitioner and also running a specialist IT service, we needed to sort of be everywhere with quite a small team often. So I had always worked a project model or a systemic model where we're trying to upskill and have a centre of excellence within the school. So I sort of came to SEATS with that mindset, and we had lots and lots of resources behind us. And so over the last 3 years, there's really been a shift in trying to get other teams to work in that model, and it's been really successful. So currently at the moment we offer what we call a PD ambassador scheme. So that's a training, 6-module training scheme in school where we upskill staff to become almost detectives to unpick fine and gross motor, handwriting, sort of that lower level generic motor skills challenge that sometimes parents become very anxious about and often SENCOs don't have time to get round to. So we have that, and that's actually being picked up by the DFE. I am speaking at a DFE conference on the 30th of June about this scheme that we've been running in schools for several years now. After that, I wrote a SPLD project because we were just receiving endless dyslexia assessment requests. And you could get tied up with sort of 9-10 hours per student in terms of assessment and report. And we really generally felt the better way would be to pick 6 sample students. They can be 1 in each year group, and we work every week in school for half a term, unpicking what the barriers are. Often that's around improving the quality first teaching offer. We work with parents, we work with schools. So by the end of 6 weeks, you've got sort of 6 examples that have happened in your school, and it's a really good upskilling method. And again, I do think this is something that would be really saleable, and we could definitely upscale that across the country really. On the back of the success of those 2 projects, we have recently invested in developing an SMH project, again with a similar remit in that you would go in, unpick from maybe 4 or 5 topics what the barriers in terms of the school would be. Sometimes that's environment, sometimes that's to do with communication, interaction. But again, there's been trial schools, and we are ready to launch that out across all our schools from September. Again, SCMH and mental health are really hot and relevant topics at the moment. Again, it's something that, together with the training, the videos, and the resource packages, as with the other 3 projects, it's something that we could really sell as a project and as a package. And then lastly, we've been running transition projects right since lockdown really, and that's around students going from year 6 to year 7. This year we've actually written 2 different tiers. One is that you train the staff in a school to run it themselves, and another we go in and run it. So again, certainly the tier 2 element of that again is very saleable as a transition package. Transition is something that can make or break the success of a student's move at school. So it's something I think, would be on most people's agenda to get right. So during lockdown, several of our senior staff were trained to do CRAG audits, which are sort of social care and education audits in the residential sector. We then went on and became APGO facilitators. We probably have about a third of the staff in the service who can do these, and that's the senior staff in the team. So APGO is a sort of 3-session over a year audit, whole day audits, and that's sort of almost self-reflection and a self-reflective Ofsted based tool. When we're looking at full SEN audits, that's often a very different model. It's normally a one-off all-day visit to a school or a setting, and that's very much about making a judgment. When we're going in after the visit, there is a very firm judgment about all areas of SEN and a very full report. Some schools who are struggling will have a report that's possibly 10, 15 pages long with action points. At the moment, we are able to sell these audits outside the LA for between £2,500 and £3,500, depending on the nature of the audit. So again, it's something that we've tried and tested. We have a format. We have great feedback from the schools that we've done it in. And again, I think that's something that we could upscale and offer across the UK. We have, over the last 18 months, become much tighter in terms of tracking the students that we have. Redbridge has a really transient population, as does most London boroughs, and we are much tighter around the offer that we provide for outer borough students. So they are tracked on our database differently. They receive a one-off offer, but should schools want further support, they are able to commission ongoing support or a block of support. And again, we have a commissioning document in terms of what that looks like, and I will attach that with our email that we send to you. We have a tracking system that we've put in place this year, and we're just about to track the additional hours that we have provided for students over the summer term. These are all invoiced termly, and certainly this is something that we can continue to do. And now we have tracking systems in, that's fairly easy to do. The bit that I would really be interested in doing is providing out of borough support to a range of students. I'm a PD ambassador for the UK, and I chaired a sort of southern regional meeting today. And a colleague joined to say they were from Sussex, and they were 3 days a week, and they were the advisory team. I mean, that's a crazy situation to be in. So I do think we will either have families or schools that there just is not that LA service for their local authority. That if we publicise the specialities that we have, which is incredible compared to other services, I think we are quite a marketable service, really. One of the things that I haven't had enough time for but would really like to explore is around the independent sector. We have good relationships with our independent schools, either in or on the periphery of Redbridge, and they're actually increasingly becoming more inclusive settings. So again, that's certainly something we could look at doing a SENCO offer in terms of independent sectors. I've actually got a meeting on the 20th of June with a head teacher of a prep school in Snaresbrook. So one of the things is about unpicking what they would be interested in as a school. And then finally, we do a huge amount of exceptional support for the SEN team. and that comes in a variety of packages and formats. But what it does look like is it will often mean the difference between a child remaining in a school placement with complex needs or not. We have an enormous bank of resources now over the past 3 years that we have created to support that exceptional work around keeping a young person, whether that looks like a transition program, whether that's around a student with really complex needs being taught outside a classroom. Again, many local authorities, when you look at the National Parent Forum, there are thousands of children that are currently not in any educational setting at all, because often those settings do not have a sort of hit squad to go in as we do. Again, it's something that we could look at if we had the time and resource to pull together, some of these exceptional support packages that could almost be offered out to schools as sort of a rescue package. We have always done parent training at SEATS, but sometimes we struggle to get engagement. We struggle to get the right parents on the call. Quite often, historically, we used to find the same parents coming and sometimes dominating the sessions. Since Christmas, myself, Mel and Tanielle, who are my senior staff in the training team, have been giving up our own time, weekends and evenings, to play around with a variety of formats, a variety of times and a variety of days to sort of see what really gets parents' interest, and listen to parents that do come on the course about what more they would like. Certainly between Christmas and Easter, the sessions that we've run have become increasingly successful, and what we have now is parents returning. So the end of the session on a Thursday evening, they'll always say, what's next week? So we're beginning to pick up a rolling stone in terms of Redbridge parents. In order to meet the needs of the majority of parents, they would like the training to be online because it enables them to stay within the home while they're watching it. And also, we've just used our own money to fund rigging systems so that we can hold our phones up and just use a variety of formats. So when we're on a training session, we're not just doing a PowerPoint presentation. We have our phones live streaming, us showing them how to do a spelling activity, etc., on our desk in front of us. And the feedback that we've got from parents is, they like that mixed media model, and they like, the sessions being not purely presentation based. This just gives you an idea of what we're doing from now to the end of term. One of the things we're picking up is a trend around parents where the students don't have an EHC, but they may possibly have ADHD, they may possibly have autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, dyscalculia, but they are nowhere near having a diagnosis. So Thursday evenings at SEATS are going to be Mel, myself and Tanielle running these sessions where we're saying, come and learn about, or you think your child might have, what would you do at home? How can you support your child at home? But also what's reasonable to be expecting the school to do as well. So again, I think by the time we get to the summer holidays, we will have a really strong idea of what we'll pick up in terms of parent training and parent interest. If we're doing it online, all our events are hosted on Eventbrite now. That's easy enough to do. And actually, whether we have 20 people, we have 40 people, or we have 80, 100 people on the call, it really doesn't matter because of the nature of the training we've developed. So again, using Eventbrite, we are able to set up 2 ticket prices. So it could be that the training remains free for Redbridge families where that's relevant, but anybody outside Redbridge would have to pay a fee. I think the best training myself, Tanielle and Mel we put ourselves on training all the time, and we sign up for anything that we see being offered to experience it as a parent. And generally the best training for us that we see is sort of frequent short sessions, around an hour, not overly expensive, possibly around, £6 to £8 to £10. And those are the sessions that are picking up the footfall for parents, because it's not a big commitment. It's not a huge financial commitment either. And by actually having larger numbers, you're still able to generate money. Every time we run an event, we have a parent who says, this happened at home. I wasn't able to make it. Could I buy the video? Can I watch the video back? So again, we have just managed to get some movement with the LA around looking at a platform where we can host recordings of the sessions that we run. And that would enable parents to download and buy any session at any time. At the beginning of lockdown, we realised as a new service and as an LA service, we really had no platform to reach parents quickly in any shape or form other than email. And parents were being bombarded by emails and weren't always picking up the emails that were maybe supportive. And some of our families don't have access to that. So we created a YouTube channel. This is all sort of, there's been a lot of Googling to establish how you do certain things, but we've got there, we've been able to brand the videos. And so really at the moment we've got over 100 taster videos on the YouTube channel. We probably have about 60 that are hidden, and they're the much longer, fuller sessions, and we don't really want to have those longer videos unless we can get to 100,000 subscribers, because what we don't want to do is give away all our training for free. So again, I'm hoping that when I work with Sasha, we will be able to look at platforms where people can have a snippet, maybe 5-minute section for free to give people an idea of what our training looks like, but then they can go on and download and purchase the longer video. Certainly in terms of footfall, we have a huge amount of footfall through the site. Again, we do have the opportunity, if we can get to 1,000 subscribers, to monetize the channel. I think if we have a platform where we can download fuller training videos, then they may not need to have that push for 1,000 subscribers, but it's always an option. I think there's another option if we look at a platform for downloading our training videos that are more corporate and more designed for school and head sort of network, then it may be that we convert the YouTube channel into a more parent only, a slightly easier format for families. Again, there's lots of choices depending on what platforms that we're going to have access to. We have a range of accredited trainers. We do positive handling. That's incredibly popular. We tend to train groups of about 20-25. Our largest group was 60. Currently we charge £150 to £200 a head. So again, that's something that happens regularly throughout the year. And we often mix school groups up as well, because somebody will have 5 people, somebody will have 1, somebody will have 20. So we often give schools a free place for hosting, and then we have mixed groups, which actually is a really nice thing to do. We also run accredited manual handling training, and that's really around students that are in a wheelchair. We have a PEEP trainer, we offer Makaton training, and then we have a formal trained coach within the team. So we can offer Senko coaching, management coaching, or sort of more solution focused crisis type coaching as well. We have offered coaching to several of our Senkos, And again, it's been very popular. I think what we would like to be able to do is offer almost a scripted coaching in terms of Senkos and their problem solving approach or prioritising approach. Again, we certainly have people trained and accredited in all these areas, so it's something that we could develop. So in terms of Senko training, we run Senko forums termly. They tend to be about 3 hours, and a range of staff from Access and Inclusion will come and provide updates. We will look at legal changes, we look at new initiatives, and they're usually really well attended. During COVID, they moved online. And probably will remain online due to staffing challenges. So again, if we're running those for Redbridge staff, there's absolutely no reason Senkos from other settings or other areas couldn't pay to join. In addition to our forums, which are really sort of an information update sort of session, myself and the training team are writing Senko modules, so we're looking initially at new to Senkos. Many people now find themselves in the role of Senko with very little experience, and I'm part of various network groups online, and it's terrifying to watch the sort of questions that are generated in terms of what do I do about this? This is a situation. So we're looking at the moment of running a sort of 10 modular offer over a year. And that, again, you could have sort of a bronze, silver and gold package that you could, pay one price and be able to access 2 or 3, or, pay another price and be able to access all of them. And again, it really wouldn't matter whether you're a Senko in Redbridge or anywhere else in terms of that information that would be shared in those sessions. I think once we have secured that, the next piece of work I'd really like to do is really around that professional development for Senkos who've maybe in the role sort of 5-10 years. Quite often, you hear the phrase, I don't want to be taught to suck eggs. But we know from the level of interaction we have from our schools, they still find increasing challenge, and the type of children that we have in schools are increasingly complex. So again, it'd be really interesting to develop an advanced Senko module. I have a meeting in a couple of weeks' time with a link with Nathan, and again, I think if we were going to do that with any serious intention, it would be really useful to look at some level of accreditation if we could. Again, those things, if you're running the session for 10 people or 50 people, it doesn't really change the dynamic in the room. Again, the thing that we struggle with at the moment is being able to publicise that without really putting ourselves out in terms of social media. So to have a Redbridge profile in terms of promotion would be amazing. I think most of us, in terms of our everyday life, come across situations where you think, maybe this could have been handled better in terms of disability awareness. Or it could just simply be people like myself who've done this for a long time and see situations that others don't take notice for. But interestingly, we've been doing an assessment on a student and was talking to his parent as part of our work. And she's actually one of the lead trainers for KFC. And one of the things she was talking about was, would we have or could we have a role in terms of corporate training, in terms of sort of things like neurodiversity and the do's and don'ts of, how to include an adult in the workplace who maybe has a neurodiverse profile. Again, I think that's something that's really exciting and certainly worth exploring. On the 20th of June, I have a meeting with a couple of contacts that I've been working on for some time, and that's around university training generally, and particularly PGCE. I personally lecture at the Institute, and I know Kerry, who's one of the deputy heads, also lectures at UEL, I think. But the amount of time dedicated to SEND is really very, very small. Certainly in terms of the Institute, who are known for being a really good trainer in terms of PGCE, SEND on some of their courses is simply a day. So one of the things it would be really interesting to do, because often when you go for the day, you're there twice as long because students are queuing up to ask, where can I find out more? How do I find this information? And I think it would be really interesting to look at not only SEND training offered to universities, but also almost as a live signposting package, because certainly, newly qualified teachers going into a classroom, and they find themselves with a student who is maybe non-verbal, 4 or 5 years behind their peers, they really will not have a toolkit to help. So one of the things we're looking at is around maybe an ECT toolkit or a general PGC support package. Again, that's a piece of work that needs to happen, but it's certainly an avenue worth exploring. On Friday this week, I am going to meet an adult training centre, and that is another avenue. We sometimes are contacted by parents who say, my child's 26, they had a great offer from a special school or provision, and now they're just at home with a carer. And the carers come and they don't really know what to do. They don't have any training. So again, 2 avenues that I haven't explored but I'm beginning to is around social care training for carers and the adult training sector. Because again, I think the training staff have is sometimes limited. It's often care based, and it's not often educational based in terms of aspiration for our young adults with SEND. As I said earlier, I am really interested in doing some more work in exploring or probably exploiting the independent sector. I definitely think there are, I know there are staff who have the role of SENCO, but actually, have almost no SENCO network at all. So they're often very isolated and often very much working in almost quite an old school way, because they're relying on either information from books or online to help them. It would be great to facilitate an independent SENCO group where we offer some training, but also it would enable them to have a sort of SENCO network. I'm not sure if that's available, but certainly from talking to our independent schools that we link with in Redbridge, those SENCOs are very much reporting they're very much on their own. So again, it's an area worth exploring. We actually have very few academies in Redbridge, but I met with the head teacher yesterday who's part of a Faith Academy group, and again she was asking for, it was the first time I'd met her, and she was asking, what training offers could we have that feed into MAP groups or academy groups. So again, I think there's a whole set of streams that, if we had capacity within the service that we could explore. Certainly in terms of getting people to engage, because we have things like the YouTube and we have things like the PD Ambassador, it's very easy to get engagement because you can offer them something for free. I'll send you this resource, but did you know we do this, this and this? So it's fairly easy in terms of getting engagement with these groups. It would just be nice to have something that is more branded and more formalised, that looks really professional when we're going to have those conversations. International has always been on our agenda. I think there is huge opportunity, particularly United Arab countries. I'm aware when we're looking at provision in other countries, some of the provision obviously is many, many years in terms of practice. Recently I've just developed a link with a special school in Greece, and we're looking at the possibility of taking 2 or 3 staff out in the autumn term to provide them with some training and upskilling. And again, at the moment we're in really early stages of discussion, but it's really quite exciting. Again, if we have the platforms that we can upload resources to, in the future that's going to be much easier to signpost to support and training. I am really acutely aware when I meet with other local authorities that some authorities really are in crisis in terms of SEND and the offer to school. I spoke in November at a Duchesne's conference in Leicester, and parents were talking about students who hadn't been to school for 18 months, never seeing an advisory teacher, just literally having almost no offer in terms of some types of SEND. And again, if we had a platform, or we were able to mail shot, every school in the country to say this is what we offer, this is what it looks like. I am acutely aware that there are some local authorities where their offer is almost non-existent. So I'm sure there are gaps. Certainly there's really strong trends around Wales, Suffolk, Sussex, and they're, when we're looking at an online offer, this is something that could be transferable across all local authorities really in the UK. We have done small amounts of work where certain schools or certain families have found us either at sort of SEND national events, but again we really have not had the resource to publicise ourselves in parent media groups. Again, if we could get that secured, that would make such a difference as well. Last year we were set the challenge to run 2 conferences. We ran a professionals conference and we ran a parents conference. Again, it was a little bit Heath Robinson because we were doing it on Teams, and I have form for being slightly over ambitious, and so our parent conference alone at one stage had 9 different rooms and 9 different offers, and parents were able throughout the day to move between different rooms because many of our students have needs in more than one area. They may have autism, but they may have dyscalculia, they may have sensory issues. So parents, when they were joining, were saying, but I really want to come to this, this and this. The feedback from the conference was universally well accepted. Again, I think the issue that we had, a barrier that we had, was around promotion. So again, we had a conference that was really well attended, but given the huge offer that was available on the day, it was a shame that more parents couldn't benefit because they just weren't aware. The professional conference was much easier to organise because professionals generally are used to, coming to an online conference and move around. So that was really easy to organise and set up online. And again, to upscale that and increase the offer to a wider range of people, it is not a problem. I follow a variety of Senko media and head media, leadership media, and actually the one thing that I've learned is around publicising in plenty of time. So many people will need 2, 3, 4 months to plan for somebody to be released so they can attend. So again, we almost need a yearly timetable of what we're offering when we're offering it, so people get used to coming to a certain site and searching for events that's going to happen. And lastly, we have my old website that we brought to SEAT. Because of the 6.5 potential situation, and then COVID sort of scuppered the creation of a SEAT's website or an access and inclusion website, we've just sort of continued to breathe a little bit of life into the CERC website. It's enormous. It has an enormous amount of resource, and if I look at the analytics behind it, we have international footfall through the site on a daily basis with no publicity and no promotion at all. It would be really interesting over a period of time if we got a more professional platform that we group the resources, so you're able to have the video and the supporting resources, etc., as a package. I think that's something that would be relatively easy to pull some of the resources from the website, take the videos from YouTube, or or maybe rebrand the information we have. But we have done a lot of the homework in terms of working out what people want, the platform, the format they want it, how they want it. So I think there's probably a real mileage around schools looking at buying a subscription to us. So it could be, for a certain level package, you were able to have 4 or 5 training events, join a SENCO forum, able to download a certain amount of resources from the website. I know that probably sounds a little bit ambitious, but I think lots of people really struggle to get released from school at the moment due to staffing and financial restrictions, really. And I think the format people are asking for is, can I view this in my own time? And how long do I have it for? So certainly the events that I go to watch what's happening, the format where you can go to the live event, you can have the recording afterwards, and some of them offer the recording for up to maybe 30 days. And certainly for SENCOs and heads, they could watch the recording, and if they felt it was useful, they could then share with their team or schedule a meeting at school. So again, I think there's probably a huge amount of work to be done in terms of what our platforms look like. But it's really just a summary, Angela, of the things that we've been playing around with, the attempts that we've tried to, in terms of research. We've taught ourselves a lot. The training team use Canva, which is a really nice media tool. We've taught ourselves to video, we've taught ourselves to edit. We've got a mixed media training format now, in terms that it's not just talking and a presentation. So we feel like we've come a long way. Hopefully this has just given you a little bit of a summary of some of the things that we've been exploring and playing around with. It's been really difficult to know which direction to go in, because I think having a team of 65 specialists is so unusual. In fact, I can't find anywhere quite as big as we are, with the range that we are. So actually it almost makes it quite hard to pin us down in terms of what we're offering. So certainly myself and the training team, we've been just over the last year playing around with formats, offering sessions, seeing which ones get good feedback, listening to what people want more of. But again, I understand you're here to help, and that will just be amazing. I look forward to meeting you on Thursday. Together with this presentation, I will also attach our commissioning booklet that goes out to schools. I have got a huge commissioning finance spreadsheet. I'm not sure it's going to make too much sense, but I will send it to you. But again, on Thursday, I'm more than happy to talk through what we drew, how we track, finances coming in. And again, I really look forward to meeting you on Thursday. Again, if there's something that I haven't covered or you really want me to send through before Thursday, if you just drop me a line, I will see if I can get it to you before our meeting. I look forward to meeting you, Angela, and I'll see you on Thursday.